Today, we're going to be talking about the best weird whiskeys and bourbons that I have ever had. Let's get into it. Hello everyone, welcome back to Brad's Bourbon Reviews. I'm Brad, and today we're talking about some really weird bourbons and whiskeys that I have had that are actually really good. There is not a single bottle on this list that I don't stand behind fully and think is a really solid bottle. However, some of the batches that I've had of some of these might not be the best. I'm using the term bourbon because this is a bourbon review channel, but most of these actually are not technically bourbons. So let's go ahead and get into it, and these are in no particular order. First up here is a bottle that I have had heated debates about defending, and I think that this batch in particular of it is really, really good. Shut up, Dusty. This is the High West Campfire. This is a blend of straight rye whiskey, straight bourbon whiskey, and blended malt Scotch whiskey. And it comes out to this weird, smoky weirdness that I absolutely adore. I don't think that all of these are good. The batch I have is 22K18. I don't know what any of that means, but this one is really good. Now, I have had some of these that are not great, but if you can find a good batch of High West Campfire, I think it's really, really solid, and I think that you could do a lot worse, and High West is just awesome in general. Yes, High West Campfire is weird, but I do still really, really like it. Moving on to the next one. So this one's not a bourbon, but this one is a whiskey that I think is just oddly delicious for what it is. This is from JT Meleck. This is a handcrafted rice whiskey, single barrel cask strength, coming in at 123.7 proof, and is a pick from Specs. So if you don't know, which I kind of gave it away here, JT Meleck is rice whiskey, and it's really good. And I thought that maybe that because it wasn't a bourbon and it wasn't like a traditional whiskey, that I was kind of grading it on a curve. But I've thrown this into blinds before, just between myself and Holly, and it always, is towards the top of the pack here. It's a really solid bottle. Granted, this is a single barrel and it is at barrel proof, but I still stand by that JT Meleck makes some really incredible whiskey. Moving on to the next one. This one right here is weird because it's something that I wouldn't typically gravitate towards, and it is an Amburana Finish bourbon, and this is from RD1. This is my favorite thing that I had the entire time I was at Kentucky Bourbon Festival, at the festival itself. I think that RD1 makes really, really incredible stuff, and the reason I think this is weird is because this is barrel number 42, and it tastes exactly and smells exactly like back in the day when McDonald's used to deep fry their apple pies. It smells fatty. It smells like apple pie. It smells, and I mean this in a great way, it smells like a drive-thru apple pie. It's so good. I think this is really an underrated bottle. I'm not typically a huge fan of Amburana finishes. This one really toes the line of being like bourbon to obnoxiously sweet finish, and it really just is very, very well balanced, and this was a great bottle to grab for the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. Moving on to the next one. All right, this is a bottle from Penelope. I have talked about this ad nauseum. I love this thing. I know not everyone's going to love this, but it is an absolutely delicious bottle. This is Penelope Bourbon, the Rosé Cask Finish. This is my second bottle of this. I think this is one of, if not the most perfect summer bourbons. It is a bourbon finished in rosé wine casks. It's got these like gorgeous strawberry caramel notes, like strawberries and cream even almost. It is just so incredibly delicious. It shouldn't work, but for some reason it works. I think it's because Penelope, whatever the fuck they're doing over there, those guys are wizards. And I'll be honest, I don't trust them. I think they're doing something shady. Something's wrong. This should not work, but it absolutely works. It's just like the perfect balance of sweetness to proof. 94 proof, batch number 8. This is perfect. I'm on a yacht and I'm sipping bourbon in the summer bourbon. These are for sure not for everybody, but if you haven't tried one, I highly recommend you do so. Moving on to the next one. All right, up next, this one's kind of stretching the definition of weird a little bit, but it's something that I don't think I've had, at least I haven't had it explicitly said in a bourbon before. This is Jack Daniel's Distillery Series Straight Tennessee Whiskey finished with toasted pecan wood chips. I don't know too much about the entire Jack Daniel's Distillery Series. I know that they are hard to come by, and they're these cool like flask-shaped bottles where you can kind of put it in a pocket. I don't recommend it, though. No, they're these little cool bottles that like are available in a few states, Tennessee, Kentucky, a few other places, but they are really solid, and I love the entire series. This is my favorite one of the entire series, but I don't know if I've ever had anything that quite tasted like this. It is a very, very unique whiskey. It's really solid. 120 proof. I'm telling you, it's one of those things where it's like you think it's going to be kind of this normal kind of bourbon bourbon notey kind of thing. It's really not. It's really solid. If you can find one of these, I highly urge you to do so. This is selection number 10. It was released in October of 2022. I highly urge you to do it. Moving on to the next one. All right, this one right here is a cigar batch from Kittinden. And the reason this one is so weird to me is because all of the finishes. This finishing list reads like a side effect list on a medication. Side effects may include blurry vision, bleeding from the eyes, bleeding from the ears, nightmares beyond your comprehension, the fear of failing, the fear of success, nausea, diarrhea, and vomiting. So this is Kittinden's Cut Above Mississippi Sippers Stogy batch, a blend of bourbon whiskeys finished in cognac, Armagnac, port, añejo tequila, apple brandy, maple syrup, and Lafroig Scotch barrels. It is a 5-year-old bourbon at 113.25 proof. This thing is very strange on its own, but with a cigar, it absolutely, it crushes it. If you've tried this and you've just tried it in passing, I would urge you to sit down with it for about an hour or two, pour, like an ounce and a half, and really sit there with it with a cigar and see how different it is. The way this was crafted was so bizarre, and it's I can kind of see all of the influences of each one of the casks, but this had to take a long time because they can only say that it's a 5-year bourbon because the bourbon itself, when it went into all these other casks, was already 5 years old. If you could include, which you can't, the finishing time, I bet you this is probably a 8-year bourbon. And it's just so bizarre. It's so nuts. It's just, it's another one like the Jack Daniels one. It's just this doesn't taste like anything else I've ever had. Moving on to the last one. So this bottle right here is the entire reason I made this list, because it is a bizarre bourbon that shouldn't work, but it absolutely does and is one of my favorite things I've had this year. I don't think I can put it in the top 10 of the year because it's just so weird. And I think that most people would see it and just kind of dismiss it. I think it's one of my favorite things I've had this year. This is Larrikin Rosewater bourbon. They literally made rosewater and proofed bourbon down with rosewater. They are the first distillery to have ever done this, and this thing is wild. In my review, I said that I don't think you would like this if you don't like rosewater, but upon second trying of this, once I got home and I'm in a setting to actually critique things, I'm not excited about being at a bourbon festival. I'm not, outside. I was able to sit down and really try this and go through it, and I think that I changed my opinion on it a little bit. I think that maybe even if you don't like rosewater, you might still like this. I mean, this really kind of defied my expectations, and I think it is a very delicate, very sweet, very different, and very weird bourbon experience, and for that, it is the top of this list. Even though these are in no particular order, this is the weirdest bourbon I've ever had. So comment down below, let me know what you think is the weirdest bourbon you have ever tried. While you're down there, make sure you leave a like and subscribe, because we are on the road to 10,000 subscribers. We could get there by the end of 2025 if you would just hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, cheers. A big thank you to all the Patreon supporters you see on screen right now.